Okay, welcome back to another statics video. We are still looking at this inclined plane friction problem. This is an example problem in chapter 6 in the textbook. I ended the previous video a little bit short so that we could get through this last part C of the example problem without interruption. And essentially what this question is asking is, if we apply a force of 450, what will the friction force be? So what we had found earlier, we looked at what force is required to push the box up the ramp. We looked at what force is required to push the box down the ramp, which actually really ended up being how much do we have to push up the ramp to keep the box from sliding on its own. And what we found, let me skip back to that slide. We found that it is going to take 1,163 newtons to push the box up the ramp, and we found that it takes 111 newtons being pushed again up the ramp to keep the box from sliding down. So if we apply a force of 450, it's going to be somewhere in between. It's not going to be enough to push it up the ramp, and it's going to be more than enough to stop it from sliding down the ramp. But what is the friction force going to be? Now you may think, hey, we've already found the friction force, 476 newtons. But what this really is this is the maximum friction force. This is the maximum amount that friction is going to resist motion with this. But friction is sort of like an on-demand force. If we just had a box on a horizontal plane, let's say, and we didn't push against it, if it just sat there, there would be no friction force. Okay? We have to apply a force, P, that is going to cause potential motion for a friction force to occur. And if we only push with 1 pound of force or 1 newton of force, then the friction force will just be 1 newton. And the friction will match our pushing force, 1 for 1, right up until we get to this point where we get to the maximum amount of friction that can be provided. And then if we exceed that maximum friction force with our pushing force, then the box will begin to slide. But until that maximum is reached, the friction force is just going to be whatever it needs to be in order to cancel out the pushing force. So if we get back to our part C of this example problem, where we're going to push with 450 newtons worth of force, that's going to be enough to keep it from sliding down the ramp, but it's not quite going to be enough to prevent it or to cause it to slide up the ramp. The box is going to be staying still, and we're going to be pushing with a force somewhere in between what it takes to stop it from sliding down, but not enough to make it slide up the ramp. So there is a question as to what direction is the friction force going to be going in. And basically, it's going to be whatever direction and whatever magnitude is required to maintain static equilibrium. So let's look at summing the forces in the x direction. We know that they're all going to cancel each other out in order to equal 0. So we have our pushing force P, which is 450 newtons to the right. We also have the x component of the weight, which we already found. Way back here in part A of this example problem, we found that the x component of the weight, the component parallel to the surface of the ramp, is 687 newtons. And that's going downhill. 687 newtons is going to the left. And then the third force in this x direction is the friction force. Because if we only had these two forces, we are not pushing with as much force as the gravity is pushing it down the ramp. So if this ramp was didn't have any friction, if it was icy or oily or something like that, if there was a reduced friction here, if there was no friction, um, we would be in trouble if we're trying to push this box up the ramp. We would not be pushing with enough force, and the box would slide down and potentially crush us. So luckily there is friction force. There's going to be a positive friction force. So if you were wondering what direction the friction force is going, this should explain it. Or the negative direction, the negative force right now, is greater than the positive force. And we need this all to cancel out and be equal to 0. So we're going to have to add some type of positive friction force that's going to allow for static equilibrium. And so if we solve this equation, we just get F is equal to 687 minus 450. And that gives us 237 newtons is the friction force. So that's less than what the maximum possible friction force could be. The friction force could be greater. We had found earlier that the friction force potentially could be as great as 476 newtons. But in this problem, we don't need 476 newtons. We only need 237. And so if that's all we need for static equilibrium, that's all the friction force will give us. So like I said, if you don't push against the box, if there is no impending motion, then there is no friction force. The friction force just sort of appears in order to resist the motion. And given the other two forces present here, the pushing force and the x component of the weight, friction force steps in to provide 237 newtons worth of resistance to maintain static equilibrium. Okay, let's solve this problem now. Let's try one more example. I think we can get this done before we run out of time. My timer's saying I'm at 7.5 minutes. So we have this box on a ramp at 30 degrees. So what I like to do is rotate this all so that it's on a horizontal plane. That means that 100-pound force that was going straight down now is at an angle. If we rotate it 30 degrees, that means the angle with respect to horizontal is 60. Okay, that means that force P that we were pushing with that was horizontal now is at an angle. Okay, we rotated it. It was horizontal. Now we rotated it up 30 degrees. All right, so we have P making a 30-degree angle with the horizontal, and we have 100 making a 60-degree angle with the horizontal. We want to first find the normal force. What is the normal force going to be pushing back against the box perpendicular to the ramp? So in order to find that, we need to find the x components. So well, I'll just write it out this way. The sum of forces in the y direction will equal 0. And that will equal 100 sine of 60, and that's in the negative direction, minus p sine of 30 plus n. So we've got two unknown variables here, p and n. I'll solve for n. So n is going to equal 100 sine of 60 plus p sine of 30. Now if we look in the horizontal direction, the sum of forces in the x direction will also equal 0. What are the forces in the x direction? We have p cosine of 30, and that's in the positive direction to the right. And we have minus 100 cosine of 60. And we want to push this up the plane. So that means that the friction is going to be going to the left. So we're going to minus friction, which is the normal force, times the coefficient of friction is given to us as 0.25. So we can use the method of substitution here. We can take this expression that n is equal to, and we can plug it in right here for n. So the sum of forces in the x direction equals 0, and so that equals p cosine of 30 minus 100 cosine of 60 minus 0.25 times 100 sine of 60 plus p sine of 30. So now I have just one unknown variable, p. So I copied that equation onto a new slide to give myself a little bit more room to solve this algebraically. So I'm going to take this term right here and move it over to the other side. So this becomes 100 cosine of 60 is equal to p cosine of 30 minus 0.25 times 100 sine of 60 plus p sine of 30. So I can distribute the negative 0.25, so that equals p cosine of 30 minus 0.25 times 100 sine of 60 minus, because I'm going to take that negative 0.25 and distribute it both here and here. So this becomes negative 0.25 p sine of 30. Okay, so here's another term that can go over to the other side. So I had over here 100 cosine of 60. So now this becomes 100 cosine of 60. I'm going to add this term to both sides, plus 0.25 times 100 sine of 60 equals p cosine of 30 minus 0.25 p sine of 30. I can factor out p, so this now becomes p times cosine of 30 minus 0.25 sine of 30. And so finally, p is going to equal 100 cosine of 60 plus 0.25 times 100 sine of 60. Divide all of that by cosine of 30 minus 0.25 sine of 30. Let's plug that into our calculator and see what we get. Okay, so I got 96.7, and these were pounds that we were working with in this problem, right? Yes, so 96.7 pounds is what's going to cause motion to impend up the ramp. So in other words, if we push with a force just slightly greater than 96.7, that box is going to slide up the ramp. So yes, that's a lot of algebra, but is any individual part of it difficult? No. So just take your time, write it all out. Don't try to do too much at once in your calculator. Make sure you don't accidentally put in a wrong plus or negative sign, or put parentheses, or forget to put parentheses in the right place. Take your time, and you can do this. That's it for this video.